I've got the looks and the charm of an old movie star. Cary Grant, if you will, so I find it bizarre that this girl should refuse to step into my car. She must be shy, she'll come around, it's just a matter of time. Aurora, Aurora, Aurora.
Hey there, Screen Beans, and welcome to Screen Snark, the podcast that celebrates all of the shows that are in our eyes, on our minds, and in our hearts. I am Rachel, Quirky, Shank. New year, new me. Not really.
And I am Matt, A.K. Stormageddon, still the same me every year.
I
ad
actually
infinitum.
plan to be worse this year, actually. Like,
Do you?
Everyone's like, I'm in for the self-improvement, but I intend to just double down on my worst behaviors.
I mean, what could possibly go wrong, right? You'd fit right in with a lot of people in the U.S., for sure, at least.
I'm just gonna own it now. I'm gonna become ungovernable. Ungovernable.
Smooth.
Yeah,
Flawless.
grammar can't even hold me back now.
And in this new year, we also have one of our first of many incredible guests we have coming this year. It is the incredible Merritt K. Merritt, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me. I am, I'm fresh off a bout with COVID, so this is a great way to start the new year. I spent New Year's Eve just in my room in quarantine. So, yeah, it's all
Wonderful.
uphill from here.
Exactly. It's almost like there's still a pandemic going on, Merritt.
It's almost like there's a tridemic going on, actually, because I'm rocking having had RSV.
Oh,
so
no. Ugh.
If you got the flu, we'd be a real trifecta.
No, the flu shot actually really worked this year. I did have COVID, though, 2 or 3 months ago. So, for the second time. So, we get around. We're very, very excited. I have no idea where that was going. We are very excited to have Merritt here. We're going to talk about Merritt's brand new book, Land Party, in a little bit. But before we get to any of that, we are going to do as we always do. We're going to talk about the most recent thing we've watched, and I will continue, as always, to go first. And the thing that I brought is actually something I've been looking forward to for a long time because I have some personal investment in. It is the show Fleischman is in Trouble. It's based on the book by Taffy Brodesser-Akner, who also wrote the series and I believe was the showrunner for the series. And listeners of the show, if any of them follow me on Twitter, know why I'm personally invested. It's because my incredible spouse, the one Sarah Storm, got to play the lead character's sister in several flashbacks across the 8-episode series. For those who don't know, this is a short series. It's probably just going to be a one-season thing because it covers the whole book. But it's based on a book about a man and a woman who are getting divorced and how things kind of mentally fall apart for both of them and some of the friends who were involved within it. It is a very Jewish book because the author is Jewish. So it's about a lot of Jewish tradition and living in New York specifically as a Jew, which was relatable. It's interesting. I always see other people talk about representation and how much it matters. And of course it does. And I'm always an advocate that we need more diverse media. But I didn't know how much I was missing Jewish media at all until I watched this because there was so much stuff. We compared it a lot to Always Be My Maybe, which we are fans of on the show. Always Be My Maybe had a lot of stuff that has to do with Asian culture that they didn't explain. They took their shoes off at the door or the grandmother said certain things or whatever it was. There were traditions that were shown that were not explained because they were for the audience. The movie was for. They didn't over-explain everything for the white folk. And this had that air to it. There was a lot of Jewish culture in it that they didn't go out of their way to explain why they did those things. They just were. As a matter of fact, it was life. It was a really great series. The cast is phenomenal. Jesse Eisenberg, Claire Danes, Lizzie Kaplan, Adam Brody. Of course, my spouse, Sarah Storm.
Yes. Also, isn't Francine DeVetta in it?
Yes.
Yeah.
In one of the episodes that my spouse is in, so is Francine, which was pretty fun to see. For those who don't know, Rachel and I have both worked for Francine on their side gig as a burlesque performer, and it was really cool to see this friend of mine who I haven't seen probably since before the pandemic just on TV all of a sudden. It's pretty neat. But yeah, it's on Hulu, and it's a dramedy. I mean, it's mostly a drama, but there are definitely funny moments. And it's some of the best work that Jesse Eisenberg has done. Something that was fun to see Jesse as Toby is, I've been lucky enough to meet Jesse. I know his spouse. And like I've seen, of course, Jesse in a lot of movies, and he always plays the same character, right? Think The Social Network. That's kind of what he's done over the years. That, or he's done roles outside of that comfort zone that were panned, like his Lex Luthor and some other stuff. And so it was just so fun to see him get to actually be a character and not be himself, not be the same awkward character that he's been in every film and TV show. And so that was really great. And then Claire Danes, who I haven't really seen anything in a long time, was absolutely phenomenal. And there's an episode. So Jesse plays the husband of the divorce, and Claire Danes plays the wife. And there is an episode later in the season that just shows off Claire Danes acting, a thing we already knew Claire Danes was good at, but like just phenomenal. If you like really good character work, if you really like good drama and interesting like narratives, I really recommend the show. You know, it's also kind of refreshing as someone who loves his fair share of geek media, superheroes, Star Wars, whatever else. You know, we talk about it a lot on here, but I haven't been watching a ton of stuff outside of that. And so this was refreshing in the fact that it was like, oh, this is not about a superhero. This is not about whatever. And so, yeah, it's phenomenal. It's, like I said, only 8 episodes. And I think it's really worth folks' time. Rachel, did you have a chance to watch it yet? I know you said you were interested.
Yet, no, I was. Yeah, I'm definitely interested. I just been in my anime hole.
I mean,
I also fell into a deep wormhole of call dust. Let me try that again. A deep wormhole of doll customizing YouTube.
Good Lord.
Just people like kit bashing dolls and like giving them face ups and new hair. It's been a lot. It's been a comfort. I don't know. When it becomes winter, I just kind of like go to content instead of art, I guess. Not to say that doll craft isn't art. They make beautiful dolls.
Sure.
I also think this is because I watched My Dress Up Darling twice and read the manga, and the YouTube algorithm's just like, so you want to watch people make doll clothes? That's what you want. It's like, yes,
sure.
I do.
Why
Thank
not?
you. So I haven't, but I shall.
Merritt, have you heard of Fleischman or had seen it?
No, I haven't. I'll be honest. Like when I hear the name of the show, all I can think of is a tweet that I saw going around when it came out. That was just like the Robert De Niro Joker thing. Just like, you're laughing. Fleischman is in trouble and you're laughing. But I mean, I like both of the leads, so maybe I will watch it. I have been pretty bad at watching contemporary television dramas for basically ever. And that actually is something weirdly, like, I don't know anyone whose resolution is like, I'm gonna watch more TV, but like,
Right.
but I kind of have been like, you know what, I kind of want to watch more like recent things and not just sort of go back to the same things, or just, you know, watch older stuff. How many episodes is this?
8 episodes.
That's totally, man. And they're what, like 40 minutes?
Yeah, about. I think the first episode might be an hour, but yeah, otherwise it's about 40 minutes. The thing about this show, I think, is that it kind of moves at a good clip. It's very engaging and very punchy, and the writing is really punchy too. I mean, and again, I'm biased because my spouse is in it, but like, but I will always shill for my partner. But in all seriousness, like, I have Sarah to thank because I don't watch a lot of contemporary stuff either. As I just said, a lot of my media consumption is like, I'll be more contemporary with video games than I think I am with TV and movies. Like TV and movies, I have my comforts. Also because I do a video game podcast, it's like, well, I got to play the latest indie games, and you know, I guess I'll play the new God of War, or whatever else. And sometimes it's laborious and sometimes it's not. But with TV, it's like, I'm just not a TV watcher. My two primary forms of media are music and video games. And then like, I'll do some TV and movies, and then reading is like at the bottom of my list because I'm a very slow reader. Audiobooks are higher on that list. And so like, I'm the same way. Like, I probably wouldn't have watched Fleischman if Sarah wasn't in it and we weren't watching it together. But that said, after we watched the first episode, I was completely hooked and looking forward to it. It was also fun to watch something weekly because this didn't get dropped. Hulu often does, like Disney Plus will do like an episode a week.
Yeah.
And so that was nice because like, as the drama ramped up, like, again, I'm really, you know, invested in the show because I know Jesse and I know Sarah, and I know Taffy. Sarah and Taffy go way back as well as friends. And so like, I was invested because these people that I like were doing really cool work, but I was also invested because it was actually just really well made. Also, it was, and since we are all New Yorkers, the thing I think you'll like about it, Merritt, for sure, I know Rachel will, is it feels like New York. Like a lot of TV and movies, like it's like, oh, here's New York. Like, you know, they kind of play up the New Yorkness. This felt very grounded. This felt very much like when they shot in Central Park or when they shot, you know, at the Y or wherever, like a lot of it was on location, but even the stuff that was sets felt like locations in the city because the writers from New York, a lot of the cast is from New York. I think all of the cast is from New York, actually. Maybe Claire Danes isn't, but I know Jesse is. So like all of that also, I think, really grounded it. Yeah, I really loved it. I'm considering rewatching it just because I know there's kind of stuff I missed. Also, what was really cool is like there were actors in this that I hadn't seen in anything in a while, like Josh Radnor, who most people would know probably from How I Met Your Mother. Like he plays a loving husband in this and like is just a completely different character and also very like does a very good job. It's fun to see actors who have worked a ton, Adam Brody, like I mentioned before, and Lizzie Kaplan, do these roles and these characters that kind of pop and feel different from the kinds of stuff they've done before. Because it's very easy, I feel like, to typecast a lot of these actors, and they didn't really at all, which was really neat to see. Also, there are two children actors who play the kids of the divorced couple, Maxim Swinton, who plays Solly, and Mara Mahoney Gross, who plays Hannah, and they are incredible. Like, you know, I mean, children actors run the gamut, right? Some are meant to be goofy, but in this drama, like, especially the daughter who plays Hannah, like, is just so captivating and so good at playing. I think she's 12 or 13, like, playing, like, the struggle of this young girl and, like, coming into your own and understanding your body. It was just really masterful work that you don't get to see a lot in, I feel like, a lot of modern TV drama. And so it was really great. I definitely stand by it and think that more folks should definitely check it out beyond just making my spouse more famous, because I would love for them to get more work too.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah, I have noticed a bit of a trend, and I don't know if this is sort of like due to your Stranger Things and all that, but I've noticed an uptick in like really good young actor performances, like younger than like teenage. And
Right.
I think we've started to like really embrace this idea of like stakes and humanity for children in a way that I feel directors are really getting into.
Yeah.
I watched the Matilda musical on Netflix. It wasn't the most recent thing I watched. I actually forgot that I watched it and I could have brought it, but then I watched something else today because I was like, I didn't watch a movie. But like getting into like the internal life of that main character, I was just in awe, because I think a lot of really good performances come from really great direction. And so just you can feel that, you know. Is that kind of like what you think the kid performances in this are, or do you think they're just like cool kids who's got it?
I mean, I was lucky enough to get some set stories, but from what I've heard, they're just really talented actors, which helps. And like because the young woman is especially playing kind of like a bratty character, like teenager, I want a phone, like I don't, you know, you're cramping my style, Dad. Like apparently could turn it on and off like a switch, and that kind of acting always impresses me because like as an empath, like I've not really done a lot of acting. I've done some scene reading and stuff, but like I can go up too quick and like that's it. Like I'm in my feelings and then I'm done. But to hear that some of the scenes that she did, like she was just like could just turn it off, is really impressive to me.
Oh my gosh, have you seen the footage of the actor who played Elliot in E.T.?
No.
Like one of his last like auditions was just like a free improvisation, and like he's being given the prompt that the government is going to take E.T. away. And they're like, we're not going to hurt him or anything. We want to study him. And this kid is just like, you can't take him. He wants to stay here. And he's like crying and crying. And he's like so committed to this. And then like the director off screen goes, you got the job, kid. And he just like stops and is just like not crying anymore. No come down.
Jeez.
It's just like, he's done. He's like, I got it. Okay, cool. It was like wild to watch.
That's crazy.
Anytime someone's just like, oh, okay. Like, I have to, like, breathe and, like, walk around. Even, like, if I'm crying, it's just like,
Yeah.
no, you gotta back up.
I need some time.
I gotta decompress. Amazing.
But yeah, so it's definitely a really great show. I'm hoping that more folks will check it out. I mean, it's already become like this critical darling. Like I've been seeing a lot of really cool articles about it. But like if you've been looking for a cool drama that, and there's nothing to fill that void, or in Merritt's case, if you're looking for something short and sweet that you can kind of bang out in a day or two to keep that like TV gain running, it's definitely worth checking out.
Love that. Well, Matt, if you had to describe Fleischman is in trouble in just 3 words, and you cannot use Fleischman or is or trouble.
But I can
How
use
would
in.
you? No, you can't. Sorry.
Is that- you
Got
just
that one in
forgot
the
one?
middle. Yeah, I was just like, I mean, you're not going to use
No.
like in or the or and in your description, so it seems not worth saying. But how would you describe it?
Divorce gone gonzo.
Divorce Gone Gonzo. I like that. Ooh, I like Gone Gonzo.
Yeah. It's funny. There's a lot of relatability in this, except for when like there's a scene where Jesse's talking about what app dating is like in New York. And as someone who has face planted from relationship to relationship and has been married for almost 8 years, like I have no idea what that scene is. I completely missed it. I'm old enough. And I was just like, this can't be true. And like I asked some friends who are on dating apps and like, yeah, a lot of that nonsense is pretty true. I was like, damn. Glad I didn't have to think about that.
Yeah, it's strange because I'm poly.
Yeah.
Like, but I am just like, no, but dating?
I'm good.
No way. No way.
Okay, well, Rachel, it is now your turn. What, Rachel, is the most recent thing you have watched? I'm guessing it's anime because you were talking about an anime hole.
Oh, well, kind of, sort of.
Okay.
First, I'm gonna just like pop over again and say, please watch the Matilda musical on Netflix. It is very, very good. I am really sad that like I forgot because I could have talked about that one for like a whole bunch because it's.
I mean, it's
absolutely
it's
phenomenal.
your show. You can break
It
the
is
rules.
my show. I can break the rules, but I want to talk about the other Netflix movie that I watched today and how I am now going to coin Netflix Wetflix because both of these movies made me weep multiple times. But the movie that I am bringing to the table is Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio.
Yes. Oh,
It is an incredible piece.
unbelievable.
I was weeping in the first 5 minutes, and then I was weeping through the last 15 minutes. Obviously, I have such a soft spot in my heart for stop motion animation.
Sure.
And of course, like the masterful storytelling of Del Toro.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I've loved his dark fairy tale works. Like I will die on the hill of The Shape of Water is an incredible piece of cinema. I don't care if you're like, but she fucks a fish, and it's like it's more than that. It's more.
I
than
mean,
that.
it's
about
that, but it's
outsiders-
also more
It's
than
also
that.
yeah, but it's about outsiders like forming a community against like power structures that would seek to oppress them, exploit them, force them to hide away. It's great. I love it. Go check out The Shape of Water, please do. But in the series of Pinocchios that happened this past year, 3 of them, mind you, 3 Pinocchio movies happened just in the last calendar year.
Yeah.
Madness. This one is the one to check out.
Correct.
It is so gorgeous, beautifully acted. Everything is material. Everything is for stop motion. It's so real. Like the way the wood looks, the way the water sits. Like there was this one shot where they're just looking down at the ocean, and you could see like little bits of like opacity and then like not, and it just looked like somebody put maybe like cellophane in certain places, you know, to give this like texture. It's just got so much texture, and it's so beautiful in its like, I don't want to say ugliness, but like in its ugliness, in its sort of, you know, not completely like symmetrical or aesthetic. Like features are big, you know, like Pinocchio is just falling apart constantly in this movie. Just like his limbs are falling off, his ear it's so gorgeous, you know. And again, it's just like that dark beauty that Del Toro is just a master at. And
Yeah.
and I do believe that Del Toro has spoken a lot about how much he has wanted to adapt Pinocchio. Like I think
He has.
he's very much been like, this is really something that is important to me, and you can just feel it through the whole thing, and just I love good adaptations of things. I think that one of my favorite things about coming up in the world as an actor was Shakespeare. You know, this idea that like you can take the exact same text and find so many different things in it. You know, and that's how I feel about folklore and fairy tale. And I think if people like want to retell it, bringing something new to it is really lovely. And I think what Del Toro brings to this is discussions of grief and loss,
mortality,
mortality. And how even that's beautiful. You know, this idea of like what makes life so precious is that it is brief. And what do you do when you're an immortal wooden boy?
Yeah.
What do you do? It's stunning. And of course the cast, fantastic. I watched for so long before I actually like broke and looked up who all the voice actors were, because I was just taken away. Of course I knew Ewan McGregor.
Right.
You
Yeah.
can't not. Like, you can't not know him.
But easily his best performance in a really long time.
Yeah, and like
As the cricket.
he got to sing, and he sounded good, and I loved it.
Yeah.
There's also singing in this.
Yeah, it's musical. The music's interesting. I didn't dislike it, but I think that it was just very different from what I expected.
Yeah, it definitely, if you're looking for like Matilda levels of like musical prowess, you're not going to find it here, but you are going to find a reason, and honestly a lot of the music in it, the song music, does appear to be diegetic.
Right.
Like they're talking back and forth, you know, it's not so much like, oh, the scene is stopping, we're singing because we've got heightened emotions. It's no, this wooden boy is alive now, and he's singing about how much he loves the world.
Yeah.
It's me. Oh, hi, it me. What's this? I love it. What's it do? Yeah, again, another one of those like child performances that I think like someone really like understands the humanity and the stakes of like childhood. There's a Finn Wolfhard. One of the Stranger Things kids is a fellow child in this, and also a stellar performance. I love stop motion animation tears. I think they're one of the most beautiful things. Like those tears and Ghibli tears will always like set my heart on fire. I love the choices that Del Toro took that deviate from the fairy story. The different locations. Of course, Del Toro always wants to bring fascism into it as a critique.
Yep. And does it masterfully here.
And does it so well. You know, I can't say enough great things about this. I had to text my partner and be like, is it okay if I watch this by myself? I promise I'll watch it again with you later. And I'm literally so excited to watch it again and just like take it in, breathe it, you know, live in this world a little bit longer. The creatures, obviously gorgeous. Just treat yourself to 2 hours of beautiful, melancholy magic. Like seriously, get in there. Go watch this. Don't stop listening to this. Go watch Pinocchio.
We'll
by
be
Del
here when you get
Toro.
back.
And don't think about Pauly Shore going, but father, when can I go leave on my own? Skitty. Don't think about that.
Literally,
Don't
that
think about
reference was
skitty,
for
skitty.
one listener, but it's fine.
Oh, it's for me.
It's for you.
I'm the one listener this time. Hi, editing Rachel. Hope you love it.
Yeah, the movie is phenomenal. So not to overly plug my spouse, previous guest of this show as well, but they are the producer for Hello Monday, which is one of LinkedIn News' flagship podcasts. And while they mostly are, you know, in the editing booth and in the production booth, they got to, for an episode of Hello Monday very recently, got to interview Guillermo del Toro in person in the studio and got to see the puppets in person. It's a really fantastic half-hour interview. I highly recommend it if you enjoyed the movie. But also, because of that, I got to watch the movie early and was blown away by it, and then found out that there's apparently an exhibit at the MoMA of this Pinocchio. And the mistake was that Sarah and I went during the break, and so tourists and everything, because I haven't been outside in the real world during Christmas in a long time. But
yeah, if you forgot, we get flooded.
But the exhibit was incredible. They have full sets, several versions of the puppets, like definitely go see it. It's incredible. It's worth it. We're members, but it's
I love
totally
crying
worth
at
going.
puppets. Are
Yeah.
you kidding? I'll always cry at a puppet.
I've never seen stop motion in person before, so to just see the sets and see the puppets, and yeah, it was an incredible film. The performances were great. I've just always been a longtime fan of Del Toro. I mean, his version of Hellboy is still one of my favorite films, comic book films, just in general.
Pan's Labyrinth is the favorite movie that I don't ever want to rewatch, but I'm like, I think I need to rewatch Pan's Labyrinth.
Yeah.
Have you seen Kronos, I think it's called?
Not yet. I want
No.
to. I've heard good things.
It's very fun. It's like old vampire, which you don't really see very often.
Yeah.
Also,
I
I'm
think,
pretty sure JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, I'm pretty sure Hirohiko Araki was inspired by that movie.
Oh, good.
Oh, excellent.
I'm glad.
Yeah, Sarah was doing research for the interview, and we watched. It wasn't Kronos; it was one of the other older films. But then, like, I jumped in and out when Sarah said, because they had never seen Pan's Labyrinth, and I went, "Have fun! I can't watch it again. Like, I can't go on that ride again." But I checked in every so often. Famously, also my spouse is a scaredy cat like myself, and like Guillermo del Toro is like kind of on the cusp of like how I can handle horror in a similar way to Jordan Peele as well. Like it gets just scary enough that I don't check out, but the fight or flight almost kicks in.
Yeah, it's the difference between like dreadful. Like I love dreadful. I don't love like full on like weird like ripping your heart out of you and like
gore or
scaring
jump
you.
scares. Yeah.
Gore I can handle, but just don't like put me in it. Don't like take over my emotions like that hard. Like tear jerkers and like jump scares. I'm just like, don't. You're abusing me.
Merritt, have you seen the new Pinocchio yet?
I haven't. So wait, there were 3 Pinocchios that came out last year? 'Cause
Yes.
I know that Disney did like a really ill-advised CGI.
Live action. Yep.
CGI like live action kind of one.
With Tom Hanks,
With
right?
Tom
That was
Hanks.
yeah.
that
Tom Hanks is
sort
just
of
like,
really misunderstands the entire point of the story. Pinocchio just is like a good boy to begin with and isn't tempted at all. And also like it's really funny when like Disney tries to remake films that are that old because they're like, oh god, we can't show kids like drinking and smoking cigars. So I guess they'll be breaking clocks because that's what all kids dream of doing but are forbidden to do is breaking clocks. But what was the third one?
There was a CGI Russian animated feature that came out in early 2022, and it sort of like got viral because Pauly Shore voices Pinocchio in it. Yeah.
Boy.
Okay.
It's worth knowing for the meme of it. But what's also really funny is Tom Kenny voices 2 characters in each of those. In the Russian one, he's the voice of Geppetto. And then in this one, this Del Toro one, he's the voice of Benito Mussolini. He's Mussolini. It's great.
It's
great.
wild. It sounds like you're a fan of Del Toro, Merritt, and if you are, you should watch this because it absolutely has all the macabre stuff that you would expect from him, but worked into this children's movie that's still a children's movie. Like how they talk about death and rebirth and like life and like actually having a life is really kind of brilliant. Yeah, it was phenomenal. And I'm also a sucker for stop animation. Like stop motion animation just feels like magic to me in the same way any kind of puppet does. Like I think I've talked about this on the show before, but I have a few friends who are puppeteers and like I've gone to their shows and they're there with the puppet on their arm, but the minute they start talking as the puppet, their body disappears. Like I just don't see them anymore. I just see the puppet. My brain just Photoshop filters them out and it always feels like magic to me.
Have I mentioned the anecdote? I'm sure I've done it. Every time we talk about puppets and like how like quickly you transfix the humanity onto the puppet because of the skill of the puppeteer. Jim Henson and Kermit the Frog were being interviewed, and as like the interview questions were going to Kermit, they put the mic on Kermit and you couldn't hear the answers, and like Jim had to remind them like, no, it's coming out of me. You have to put the mic on me, not on Kermit's not making any sounds out of his little frog body. It's me. Great stuff. I love it. That and the Peter Jackson, the blue light is coming from the same place the music comes from. I'm just gonna live with those forever. You know, just like these great. these great moments where adult people are like, yeah, you're playing so hard in the space here. Like, just believe it. Just believe it.
Just believe
Modern
it.
cinema, just believe it. The blue light can come from anywhere. Comes from
There
from
are
the same place
4
the music
lights.
does.
Sorry.
Come on. It's so dark. Why so dark? Be dark in different ways, cinema. Be dark like Del Toro.
Well, Rachel, if you had to sum up Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio in just 3 words, and you couldn't use his name or the word Pinocchio, what 3
ready.
words would you choose?
Since the moment one of the characters said this line, I was like, this is my 3-word review, and it is such terrible joy.
Ooh, yes. Perfect.
Oh, I'm gonna cry thinking about.
Well,
just a beautiful melancholy shit right there.
Oh, it's cathartic in the best
Yeah. Ooh, I needed a good cry too, so thanks.
way. Well, now it's our incredible guest's turn, Merritt K, the infamous, one might say, Merritt K. What is
wow.
the what is the what is the most recent thing you have watched?
Okay, so this is not a recent film,
Doesn't have to be.
but I watched a film called Colossus: The Forbin Project earlier today.
Okay.
Now, okay, this is a 1970 thriller sci-fi kind of thing.
Okay.
Directed by Joseph Sargent, and doesn't really have any big names, even like from the 70s. Stars a guy named Eric Braeden, who was kind of an unknown at the time, sort of became more famous on The Young and the Restless. He was in Titanic as well in the 90s.
Okay.
I would say the most recognizable person to be in this movie was James Hong, and he is not in it very much, but he is there, which is fun. But this is a movie I came across on Twitter because someone was posting screen caps of it, and the screen caps were of a computer kind of just like nagging this man, like in just like huge type. It's just saying things like, "What are you making?" And he's just like, this guy's like mixing like a drink, and he's like, "I'm making a martini." And the computer's like, "That is too much vermouth." And then later on, he's like, "Now, computer, I don't want to be observed all the time. Like, I need some privacy when I'm in my emotional life and in my sex life." And then the computer's like, "How many times a week do you require a woman?" It's like, and I was like, "What the hell is this movie?" Like, and so what it is about is basically these scientists working for the U.S. government create a computer that is meant to manage like nuclear defense, and it is supposed to like take all of the stuff out of the hands of people and take like emotionality and like fear and stuff out of it. And when they finish it, it detects that like the Russians have built a similar computer, and it's like, "Hey, I want to talk to this computer. Let me connect me to this computer." And the Americans and Russians are like, I guess, like, okay, sure. And they basically just like start like inventing a language that only the 2 computers can speak, and just like creating huge breakthroughs in science and math and stuff. But like people are like, okay, this is getting kind of scary. We should probably like separate them. So they do that, and then are like, and then the computers just like start targeting nuclear missiles at various places, and the computers are just kind of like, "Hey, like, you have to listen to us now." But like the way that they talk at first is just kind of with this like these LED like screens where just like words come across, and it's not until much later in the movie that like the computer actually gets like a voice and can sort of see people through cameras. So they're sort of like sneaking around like, "Okay, we gotta trick this computer. Okay, it's like what we're gonna do is we're gonna replace all of the nuclear warheads with a different one that won't be able to be detonated." And the computer inevitably like finds out, and it's just like, "You thought you could trick me, huh?" But it's really odd because at first there's this like kind of huge sense of dread, and it has that sort of hallmark like Cold War fear of nuclear annihilation. And then halfway through, when the computer is like, "Oh, I want to basically keep the guy who created me captive and sort of use him to talk to everyone and get him to build me a voice and like all this other stuff, it starts playing this like weird like kind of like lounge music during certain scenes, like when he's talking to the computer and the computer's just like, you are using too much vermouth. Like it's very odd but kind of effective. The tone kind of, it bounces back and forth between this like really threatening atmosphere to sort of more like goofy 70s like espionage stuff. And it doesn't actually have a happy ending. Like it ends with, well, I don't know, I guess you could argue that it does, but you'd think, oh, it ends with them like disabling the computer. Like no, it ends with the computer like learning what they've been trying to do and just broadcasting like, hey, everyone has to listen to me forever now. And if you do, the future is going to be amazing as long as you worship me as your god. And the main guy who like invented the computer is just like, never. And that's kind of just the end.
Interesting.
So yeah, it was 1970. Not like amazing, but kind of fun. And I just love like, I love depictions of like computers and like high tech stuff in this era, because it's like, okay, so this computer can manage like the world's nuclear arsenal and do hyper advanced calculus and all these things, and it can't get a voice that doesn't sound like I am a robot. like I guess that's sort of like, you know, true to life. Certain problems are much harder to solve with AI and computing than others, but that always did strike me as very funny. Sort of the limitations of like the human imagination in creating this kind of idea on film.
Interesting. Yeah, I think there's something to like old tech in media, because it's just they have to guess what it's going to be like or what it is like, and like all of that stuff is always really funny, because it's never anywhere close. Like like you could argue that Star Trek actually got the closest, right? Like
I was just gonna say, one of my favorite things about Star Trek, welcome back, we're talking about Deep Space Nine, it's happening, is their relationship to tablets and how much they treat them like pieces of paper, where it's like, here's this tablet for you, or like someone's carrying a bunch of tablets in a stack, and it's like, no, you each have your own, and like you can email it now. Like, it's so great. I love tablets in Star Trek, where they're just so like, I don't know,
like, here's
like,
this data pad
digital
for you
paper
that was built just to have this one Word document on it. Like, all right.
Okay.
So they were actually going to make a remake of this movie in the
really?
2000s, but it never came to pass, apparently, because Will Smith was supposed to be the lead, and it was going to come out in like the early 2010s, I think.
Okay.
But I guess that never really happened. Ron Howard might have been involved.
Interesting. That would have been an interesting
film.
film.
It would have been kind of an interesting like a remake of it, but that never happened, and at this point it's probably not happening at all. But I mean, as 70s sci-fi go, it's very like, I think like the scariness of it comes from how mundane a lot of it is. It's not like killer robots. It's like this system that people have created to simplify the world or to make sense of the world, then, you know, develops its own, or sort of like, it's a little bit the whole like scary AI thing of like, oh, Terminator, it's going to like kill everyone. But it's kind of more just like, oh, you created me to like maintain peace, right? Okay, well, the easiest way to do that would be to take control of all weapons in the world. And if anyone threatens that, then like I do something huge and retaliatory. And thus, like, we're going to have an extremely peaceful world, like, but people might actually not like how that manifests itself. So kind of anticipating some of the, I guess, fears around general AI that some people have nowadays. But yeah, it was fun.
Interesting.
Kind of scary.
So Merritt, if you had to sum up, wait, I got to pull up the title so I can actually read it. Colossus, the Forbin Project. Without using the words Colossus, the Forbin, or Project.
God.
What 3 words would you use to describe this film? It doesn't have to be a sentence, by the way. It can just be 3 random words that you feel describe it. Or it could be a sentence.
Yeah. Autonomous nuclear nightmare.
Oh, I like that. Well said.
Also, there is a huge
Nightmare.
plot point where the only way that this guy can get, the guy who's being monitored by the computer can sort of communicate with the outside world without being observed, is that he convinces the computer that a fellow scientist is his mistress, and they are allowed to remove all of their clothes in full view of the computer so that it knows they're not hiding anything, and then walk into the bedroom where it won't watch them while they ostensibly have sex, but actually just sort of talk about like their mission completely naked, which was
Wild.
very funny.
That's wild. It's funny that you bring this film because I think it really ties into like your oeuvre. You know, you've always created a lot of content like examining and talking about like old internet and old tech. You actually did an article towards the end of last year / beginning of this year about the niceification of hobby shops on your blog, which like as someone who grew up in Staten Island and
Oh my God,
lived
yeah.
in these places, like I read this and I was like, oh my God, it's like Merritt wrote this just for me and no one else.
I bet there are places on Staten Island that are still like that, though.
There are. I think that there's a place called, Island Trains that was like this train shop that evolved. A friend of mine actually owns one of these shops in White Plains that started as like a hobby shop and a train shop. And now they sell Funko Pops and Gundam and like Hot Wheels and like all sorts of stuff to like kind of get with the times. But like it is just so fascinating to look at like this isn't hobby shops or this kind of era of like technology and like tabletop gaming and stuff of the past that doesn't exist on the same scale as it used to, right? Like it's just fascinating to me. I mean, obviously you grew up in these kinds of places, around these kind of places. Do you have any desire to kind of go back to a time where like hobby shops and this kind of gaming was bigger than it is now?
I mean, so basically, yeah, that for people who haven't read it, that piece was kind of just about how when I was younger, game stores and hobby stores were very different places.
Yeah.
And a lot of the time they were run typically by like a weird graying haired maniac who seemed either indifferent or actively hostile towards the presence of anyone actually in his shop. And it's sort of unclear how he wanted to make money. But there was like sort of a charm to those spaces where it kind of felt like you were doing something not wrong, but like, oh, you're like, oh, buying like a role-playing book, like, oh, this is, and it could have just been like the atmosphere of the 90s where that stuff was still kind of like the sort of residue of the Satanic Panic was still lingering.
Yeah.
And also the stuff just wasn't as mainstream, so you kind of were doing something outside the norm. But yeah, it was sort of like an experience to like go into like this weird shop and see all these like, you know, miniatures and books and cards and things. But you know, that's kind of changed. I'm sure places like that still exist. There is actually one in New York that I do want to go to at some point in Manhattan called The Complete Strategist. That
Oh, yeah.
I've
from the
been
pictures
to the
I've seen,
Strategist, yeah.
it's just like just carpet and just piled up boxes and stuff. And I'm like, I would like to go to there.
Not to age myself, but as I am pushing 40 this year, I used to live at that store in the early days of like collegedom. It is exactly what you think it is. And I mean, I also haven't probably been in 5 or 6 years, but like it is definitely that place. You should definitely go because like I think you would really enjoy your time there for one reason or another.
Yeah,
There's-
it seems cool.
I'm so sorry. Please go ahead.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, there's a shop kind of like this in my neighborhood, like on 30th Avenue. And you said just like the shopkeeper's indifferent to you. And I was like, yes, exactly. And he like has old records. They have Gundam and stuff in there, but it's just like this tiny little shop. And I'm just like, how is this still around? I'm glad you're still around. Don't get it twisted. But like, who's coming here? I don't know. It never seems busy or anything,
Right.
but it's such a little charming place that I hope the people who still utilize it find a lot of joy in it.
Yeah, like, um, you know, newer hobby stores are sort of like the newer kind of like breed is like this sort of board game cafe. Um, and I think it's probably a net good overall that places are like that, especially
Yeah.
because they're like more welcoming to like a much wider range of people,
Sure.
which is great. But yeah, I guess I was just sort of like thinking about the way that those spaces have changed, which yeah, sort of has been maybe a hallmark of kind of my work over the last few years. And I feel a little weird about that sometimes. Like I'm like, am I just like obsessing over older stuff because I'm getting older? Like that's sort of why I want to watch. You know, why I want to watch a new TV show so I can be like part of the conversation and like, you know, oh, cool, something new and exciting. Because
As one who's been in a Marvel weekly podcast for like the past 3 years, I'm like, I just want to watch old stuff. Give me the old stuff. Give me that classic nonsense.
yeah, there's
I mean-
something to be said for it.
Yeah, I mean, but like this is kind of a good segue to Land Party, the book that you crowdfunded, because like this is like an era of video gaming that like, and we talked a little bit about it on Twitter. I wasn't able to find. I told Merritt I was going to send her some photos of me and my friends doing this nonsense, but like, there's something about the early internet era of video games where like 10 sweaty people getting into one living room with limited TVs and lots of junk food playing video games. And so I'm just curious, like, what was the inspiration for this book? Because it's such a brilliant idea to celebrate something that I feel like modern gamers, whatever that means, but younger people who were born in the last 20 years might not even think about, because we've been so much online and so easily online now.
Yeah. God, I mean, I don't even remember why I was sort of like looking up photos of LAN parties, but I came across a bunch of them, and this would have been over a year ago, and happened to just like tweet that I was interested in, or that I jokingly like, I want a book of just like photos of this stuff, because it's, a lot of them are just really iconic and have that kind of painterly quality to them. Of the composition is really compelling, and yeah, it kind of evolved from there, where I took it to a publisher and someone happened to be interested, which was very cool. But my interest in the period is, it's hard to disentangle like the personal stuff of like, oh, this was when I was like a teen, and looking back at that period and feeling kind of wistful for it. But I think, honestly, the book might not have happened, or I might not have had that yearning that would have pushed me to want to do it if it weren't for COVID and quarantine. Because spending so much time on your own, or with just the people you live with in isolation, is like, I think it made a lot of people yearn for communal events. And obviously that kind of manifested in some not so great ways when people maybe wanted to quote unquote like get back to normal sooner than would be advisable, or have public events in ways that were not really safe or considerate. But that still is like a real desire to see other people in person. And I think for younger people who like didn't experience this stuff firsthand, I've seen people reply to tweets about the book being like, oh, I was born in the wrong time period. Which is so funny to me, because like,
Yeah.
I guess that's true. Like literally someone will say that about every possible like micro era in history. But usually you think, people say that about like anything but like a bunch of like nerds hanging out playing Half-Life in someone's basement. But people who play games, I think, are so used to the idea now. And if you're of a certain age, then like this is sort of the main way that you have played multiplayer games, is just you play them online, often with strangers, sometimes with your friends through Discord. You party up and you go into a Fortnite match or whatever game you're playing. And the idea of bringing your computers to a central place is kind of quaint, but also seems to really appeal to people. And part of me wonders, like, whether some of just the really terrible effects of being so isolated and online in spaces that funnel people towards certain kinds of behaviors and groups, whether some of that stuff wouldn't have such an impact on people if they were getting together on a regular basis. Not to say like, oh, LAN parties are prophylactic against getting into the far right or whatever, but like, I don't know, so much of that shit online is people being like, oh, young men feel like so isolated and so like disconnected and stuff. And it's like, yeah, a lot of people, like, you know, social media and other aspects of the modern internet really contribute to that. And if you're in the same room as someone else, you know, there is kind of a limit a lot of the time on how horrible you can be. It's a lot easier to yell at someone through the internet than it is to yell at your friend in the same space. So I think there are all these reasons why like that period is interesting to me to look back to now, and why it's attractive to people who both miss it and to people who were never there in the first place and just wish like, oh, I wish I could do that.
Well, it's funny, like looking on the site, like seeing some of the sample photos that are like what's going to be in the book. Like I look at these photos and they're all me. None of them are me, but they're all me because like I would do this stuff and like you think, well, we're the only idiots who do this, right? No one actually does this, but like there's one photo of someone sleeping under their desk with the computer like next to them. And I'm like, I've done this. I know people who have done this. Like there was something about me and 6 other idiots bringing our computers to one person's house to the unfortunate dismay of their parents and like all playing World of Warcraft in the same room. There was no reason for it, right? Especially at that time, it's like we could play those games at home separately on TeamSpeak or whatever else. But there was something about being in the same room and doing it, right? Like, or getting multiple TVs and LANing, I think it was GameCubes together or maybe Wii's, and like playing multiplayer online in the same room. Like that was even way past the heyday of this, and like still doing it. Like I can't imagine doing that now. I have, even though my computer tower is actually pretty light, like I can't imagine schlepping all my stuff to a friend's house. I mean, also all of my friends and I are of an age, like we all have pets or kids or whatever else. And like, there are other reasons, but like I used to do what we called Winter Emus every year with a friend of mine. It's from that shitty webcomic Control-Alt-Delete, which nobody reads anymore. But like it was a holiday that they celebrated in January where it was Winter Emus. It was this time to play games together. We used to all go to my friend Andrew's house for Winter Emus, and for a week we'd take off work, whatever, and just for a week we would live there. Again, much to the dismay of his parents, who were very cool people. And I just can't think of a time I've done something like that. Like I would say going to PAX Seattle this past year felt like that at times, especially because I was rooming with friends. But like, this feels like a bygone era that is hard to explain to people. But you look at the photos and go, okay, I exactly understand. Because it sounds like even younger viewers are like, oh man, I wish I was there. And we look at these photos and goes, do you? Like it was great, but
pretty
do
gnarly.
It's just, it's really fascinating. Because I can't think of another moment in video games that's quite like this as far as how communities were built. Like you could say the Discord evolution and like how people do form communities now via Discord and other stuff is similar, but there's nothing quite like this used to be anymore.
Yeah, it was a weird time. And
A lot of wires.
So many wires. And yeah, I mean, you could argue like, oh, this only ever really existed because computers were becoming really powerful, but network capabilities weren't there yet. And I think that's true. Like most people probably would prefer to just like play games in the comfort of their own home rather than having to carry all their stuff to someone else's house. But also there's like all this other stuff that happened in the interim, like a lot of games that used to support, or a lot of types of games that used to support like private servers and direct connections between players, like first-person games, don't really do that anymore. Like
Yeah.
they're mostly just, matchmaking systems that are owned and maintained by companies. And so a lot of like control has been lost. And I think this is true across a lot of tech and a lot of computing, where, convenience is really great, but a lot of the time that increase in convenience comes with a commensurate loss of control.
Mm-hmm.
And it's sort of a question for everyone of like, how much are you willing to pay? Like how much, convenience are you, do you want, and how much control are you willing to give up? But, when I've talked to some people for this book, they've mentioned how like, yeah, it was really cool because you could just, burn a CD of a game. And now, like, you can't really do that anymore because Steam doesn't exist and CDs don't really exist. And, like, there's all these things that have made gaming a lot more convenient and accessible to a wide range of people, which is amazing, right? That's so cool. It's really cool that I can just, like, get on Discord, talk to a friend, and play a game. That's really cool. It's also really cool that, like, way more people feel like they can do this stuff. Also that it's in ways more financially accessible. That's maybe a tougher call to make, but it's also like, okay, yeah, but like we have lost some stuff, right? And I think it's worth documenting those things and talking about them too.
I agree. I mean, like, it's funny, like, we're just coming out of the holidays, and I always do a blitz of like, all right, there's a bunch of sales. What am I buying on Steam and Nintendo Switch? And like, I just bought 4 or 5 incredible indie games on Switch that I'm excited to play, but they're all digital. And if the Switch store decided tomorrow, yeah, you can't have those anymore, they're gone, and it's the same with Steam. Like, I have a Steam Deck. I love it. It's changed how much I play the PC games that I have. But if suddenly Steam decides to delist stuff, and it has happened that they have done that, it's gone. Sometimes you can still keep it, but you can't rebuy it. You can't download it. I think about all the games I had on Xbox Live Arcade on 360, like Explosion Man, Miss Explosion Man, which like the earliest indie games I remember playing. If they don't get, I think Miss Explosion Man got re-released on Switch, but like, if they don't get re-released, they're gone. Like if it weren't for the re-release, I wouldn't have Castle Crashers anymore, which was my favorite like beat 'em up game back in that era. And thankfully Behemoth re-released it, but like, there's no physical copies of it unless Limited Run or one of the other companies like Limited Run decides to do it, which I love and I'm grateful for. Like, I have, hard physical Switch copies of all the Shantae games except for, is it Pirate's Curse? It's the third one, is not available anywhere except for like exorbitant amounts. And like, I'm grateful to have those games on Switch, but like, you can't do that for every indie game that comes out, and even for convenience, some AAA games are worth to just have the digital versions, so you can get it early, play early, whatever. And I couldn't agree more. It's like, it's a thing that I think a lot of other younger gamers might not think about, because it's just so part of the culture. But it's important to remember, like, there used to be a time you'd have to buy a big empty cardboard box with either a code in it or a flimsy disc in it to play your game when you got home. I still have my copy of StarCraft 1 somewhere. Like, I remember the disc, the art, like, and like that stuff just doesn't, or like MMOs, like now it's all, you download the launcher and stuff. But like, I still have a signed copy of City of Heroes, my favorite MMO, signed by Statesman, like the developer who Statesman the character was based on and who created the game and the world. Like, that's cool to me that I have that. It's useless. It's plastic. I can't do anything with it because the game is dead. Yeah. Mostly. There are ways to play it for those in the know, but like, for the most part, that game in an official capacity is dead. And I think anything to chronicle this, like, I mean, all across gaming, we talk about how poor the archiving of gaming is. And so like, I'm so glad that you made this book, because it's an archive for a time that wouldn't be easy. Like, I'm sure friends on Facebook may have some photos. That's where I found the one photo I sent you. But like, if you don't have those photos, it's like, it's gone. That time is gone. Nobody's going to do it on that level anymore, unless you're running a convention or something where you have LAN setups and stuff,
Yeah, absolutely. And I do think like younger people are starting to question some of this stuff too. Like, I know people in their 20s who see photos like this and think they seem really cool, but just like more broadly are like, wow, like it sucks how like the world that they have grown up into is so out of their control in just really mundane ways too. Like you were talking
Yeah.
about StarCraft and stuff, like, yeah, StarCraft would let you install a spawn copy of the game on other people's computers,
Yep.
and you could just like play with your friends, and Blizzard was
Uh-huh.
like, that's totally fine. We want people to play this game. And now, like, 20 years later or 30 years later or whatever, you have things like Warcraft 3 Reforged, which was a total disaster and like
Yep.
kind of made the original version of that game unplayable for some people. And it's just like, it's not even just in games, like it's in communications technology and social media and basically everything to do with computers. And yeah, I mean, I personally am sort of reckoning with some of that stuff now. Like, okay, has the equation shifted to the point where it's actually like not useful or good for me anymore to engage with some of this stuff? And
Right.
am I just doing it because, oh, that's what I've always done. I've always been online, or I've always played games. And it's like, okay, well, if games are now like increasingly just like really refined attention extraction machines, and if social media, which is basically just a lot of the internet now, is kind of the same, do I really want those things in my life anymore?
Yeah.
And I think looking back at how things used to be can be a good way of like evaluating that stuff.
Yeah, totally. I agree. I mean, I've always loved your view and your work and your articles, that you've done. I've also, like, I binged once I discovered it, Forgotten Worlds, which is your look at like the 2000s era, like internet stuff, like early days of emulation. And like, it's funny to me how how easy it is to Google a YouTube video on how to set up emulation on your Steam Deck. Don't do it. It's illegal, stealing, blah, whatever. But like, like I am inept when it comes to setting up some of that stuff. And I was able to still Google a tutorial that said, do this, do that, and do this, and you're all set. And I'm like, oh, shit. But like, I remember emulating Pokemon Green, which wasn't even in the States, but I had a translated version, I don't even remember how, on a 3.5A floppy disk. You would put the ROM on the disk and bring it to a friend's house, put it in their computer, and you could trade Pokemon because you could like create two instances of the game. And like, I think I was talking to a friend of mine the other day who is half my age. They can remain nameless for this moment. And they're just looking at me like, Matt, what the fuck are you talking about?
What is a floppy
Disk. And it's just like, oh, man. And I think it's cool to look at this stuff because, again, it's why I love the Video Game Historian also on YouTube. Like, people chronicling where stuff has come from is really cool. Is that something you've always wanted to do, or did you just kind of stumble into like the awe of the past and wanting to talk about it?
I mean, I kind of stumbled into it. I didn't really set out to do this kind of thing, I guess. Although I guess at this point I've probably been doing it for long enough that, it's clearly something that fascinates me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, computers have just always been a big part of my life, even though I've never been like a coder or like a programming person. And so I suppose it's only natural to look back at how that stuff has changed over time. And yeah, it just seems like to me a lot of people around my age who grew up similarly are also in this position of like reflecting on this stuff lately of like, yeah, we had all these cool experiences with this stuff when we were younger, and it was really meant a lot to us. And it was like, the computer and like online was where you could go to kind of be yourself when that wasn't something you could do in person. And now it almost feels like that has flipped, and the online is where you go to have a carefully manicured brand, and reality or like physical space is where you go to have real and like important and interesting conversations with people and have experiences that you can't have online. Yeah.
I am curious. So does Land Party have an official release date yet?
So I believe it is coming out in autumn of this year.
Awesome.
We don't have an official release date yet.
Okay.
I'm basically done with all of the content. And so at this point, it's just a matter of organizing it and doing layouts and stuff. And then actually, the process of printing and everything. And also the publisher is doing some cool stuff with the photos where they're doing some AI up-resing of them, because many of these photos are quite small because they were taken on digital cameras from like 2001, which were not great. So
No,
some work
definitely
has to be done to like make them publishable.
That's
yeah,
it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Amazing. That's awesome.
So
And
cool.
will there be a non-backer retail version of the book
There
as well?
is already, yeah. So we had this crowdfunding campaign late last year, and that was incredibly successful, which was amazing. The goal, I think, was like
You can be like 185%.
yeah. The goal was like 53,000, and we ended up a little over 100,000 with 1,800 backers, which was amazing. And so the publisher, it's funny, I actually didn't know this for sure. Like in the contract, they're like, oh, we have an option to do a retail version if it does well. And, and I was like, okay, I guess I'll find out if that's going to happen later on. And as soon, the day that the crowdfunding thing ended, they tweeted like, oh, and we'll have a retail pre-order release thing up soon. And I was like, oh, cool. Wow. Cool. I did not know that. But yeah, if you go to the volume site, it's I can give you the link, but it's
Cool.
There's a pre-order link up there now, so even if you missed on the crowdfunding campaign, you can still pre-order a copy.
Awesome. I will be doing that myself, and we will include that in the show notes. But Merritt, thank you for joining us.
Thank
This was
you,
delightful.
Merritt.
Yeah,
it's
thanks
always
for
fun.
having me, and I will definitely have to check out the Pinocchio movie, and I may try to check out Fleischman is in Trouble as well.
Awesome. We appreciate you taking the time. I've always, we've talked a bunch online. I've enjoyed your work for so long, and it's so cool to always have you on any of the podcasts I do. Before we start to wrap up and do some thank yous, you want to tell folks where they can find you online if you wish to be found, and of course where to check out Land Party and all the other cool stuff that you're working on.
Yeah, so I'm still on Twitter.
For however long that
why are we
lasts.
still here?
Right,
Just to
I know.
suffer?
I have to say, you've stepped up your Instagram game since Twitter was in this nebula space. So
Yeah,
I appreciate
I started
that.
posting on Instagram. I'm at Merritt K on Twitter, Merritt K9 on Instagram because Merritt K was taken. Yeah. I don't know. I might try to get off social media this year, or
Legit.
just be on it less because it's just it's all
Awful.
bad. It's all bad, folks.
Yeah, it's been fun to watch Twitter implode in the way it's fun to make your toy trains crash into each other.
Yeah, it's been a little drawn out, and I would love to know, just have something happen. Just the tyranny of the world's worst forum owner is just embarrassing to watch. But I have a blog because blogging is coming back in 2023 in a big way. It's otherstrangeness.com. And I have a YouTube channel. I haven't put up anything on there recently, but there may be some more stuff coming on there soon. I don't know. I'm Merritt K there. If you go to my blog, I think I have links to like all of my stuff on there, and that's probably the easiest way to find all that stuff.
Awesome. And
Oh
we'll
yeah,
put
it
a
was
link.
so super easy. I just did it now. Oh
There
wow.
you go. Look at that. We will put links to, of course, all that stuff in the show notes. Merritt, hang tight. We're going to ask you our final question in a minute. But Rachel, first, we have some people to thank.
Hold on, I'm looking at this giant demon on your blog. I love this guy. I love him.
Cool dude.
He's a very cool dude. Yes, I'm just gonna let this very cool big demon stare at me while I say thank you so very much to John Presnell for the use of the song Aurora off the album Fair Game featuring Stefan Rimble. Still a banger, still a smash.
Still a banger.
I said still a smanger.
Smanger?
I'm doing great at words today. I'm
It's fine.
ungovernable.
It's not like we do this all the time or anything. I would like to thank the incredible Katie Bug, who designed our awesome show art that you can see as the logo of the show.
Agreed.
And I also want to thank the incredible Case Aiken,
No,
who does
wrong. Don't.
who does each individual show art for the episodes. Thank you, Case. I know Rachel's your mortal enemy, but it's fine. We're still gonna thank you.
It's okay. Listen, I'm a baby pro wrestler now. Feuding is just the way that I show you that I love you.
It's true. It's the love language.
Case,
of the
I'm gonna
wrestler.
throw you onto Thumbtack sometime. I'm gonna make your kid watch.
And
And
I
thank
believe
you to the Certain Point of View Podcast Network for continuing to include us in their lovely family. We've got some great shows. Circling Cersei.
correct.
United States of Women.
Also a show on the network. It's not like we have a website you can go to where you can pull these up.
Penology.
Yes,
Or
Penology is
just
also a show.
just to name a few off the top of my head. Wonderful, brilliant
Right.
shows. All of them.
All of them brilliant. You go to certainpov.com to check out all those shows. You can also find a permanent invite link to our Discord server where we have tons of different conversations and sections for video games, TV, movies, all sorts of cool stuff. Music now because we have a music podcast.
It's like our own personal little land party, but for
Yeah.
the podcast network.
There it is.
There
Yeah,
you
bringing it
go.
together.
And speaking of parties, why not join the party of folks that have liked and rated this show on their
Please.
podcast apparatus of choice?
I'm sure this is the first time you've ever heard a podcaster ask for ratings and reviews. but be that
Engage
as it
with
may,
us, please.
Please.
Begging
Yes.
you.
Apple Podcasts, of course, is best, but also you can rate us on Spotify.
Yeah.
And then, of course, if you want to reach us, we are screen_snark on Twitter, as long as it's still around. And we are also...
We do have an Instagram page, but
we don't use it.
It's hard. It's hard to have an Instagram for a podcast.
It's true. As someone who has many, yes, that is true. And also, you can, of course, email us at screensnarkpod@gmail.com.
Yeah.
But now that all of that nonsense is out of the way, Rachel is going to ask our guest the final question.
Merritt, please. I personally would love to know our final question. Merritt, if you could choose any one trope as featured in movies or television to instantly and magically become true in your life, which trope would you choose?
Oh my God.
I know, right?
Wow. I think that is so tough. I'm like trying to think of I'm like trying to desperately bring up TV tropes in my mind's eye and just like what are a thing. I think the names of things should be said more often. Like I think like like when something is like, oh, it's like Cloverfield Lane, or like, oh, that's like the
the title of the thing
The
is
title
said.
of the
more
thing
than-
is
being
said.
said. I love
I think
that.
the title of a thing should be said more often. I don't know what that would even look like in reality, but I just feel like it should that should be a thing.
We should all be a little bit more expository. I love
Yes.
it.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah, let's get more expository.
Yeah.
Let's 2023. Let's get expository.
Right here on this
There you go.
podcast
New
where we
slogan.
sit down and talk with very talented people from all swaths of life. Screen Snark, our podcast.
Right.
Oh,
perfect.
Mary,
there
you
it
did
is.
it.
You did it. Amazing.
I'm doing
Merritt,
it.
thank you again so much
Thank
for
you,
joining us.
Merritt.
It means the world to us. This was a blast. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
And folks, please go check out Land Party. Please go check out all the things. I want to thank my brilliant, talented, and very pink-haired co-host, Rachel Quirky Shank.
And I would like to thank my co-host who brings me such terrible joy, Matt, a.k.a. Stormageddon.
I will take it. And of course,
it's a really sweet thing to say. It made me cry.
It is. I'm touched. And I want to thank our incredible listeners. We would be nothing without you. We will see you at the movies or on a couch somewhere. Bye-bye.
Aurora, 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 Aurora.
So, I have a question. Have you ever wanted to get into comics but you just didn't know where to start? Well, welcome to Comics Quest. I'm JD Martin, and every week I sit down with a guest to talk a comic that I think anybody can pick up and start their comics reading journey. We take a look at psychedelic sci-fi, fantastical action, heart-wrenching love stories, and of course, superheroes. So check us out at certainpov.com or wherever you listen to your podcasts.
CPOV. CertainPOV.com.